Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Bhagavad-Gita as it is, Chapter 8, Text 16. This is a very often quoted verse by Srila Prabhupada. Page number 381. Bottom of the page. Abrahma Bhuvana Lokaya Punar Avatano Arjuna Mamubeja Tukundaya Punar Janma Navidyate Abrahma Bhuvanat Apta Brahma Loka Loka the planetary systems Puna again Avatinaha returning O Arjuna Mam unto me Upeja arriving to but Kuntaya O son of Kunti Punar Janma rebirth Na never Vidite takes place. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest are all places. All are places of misery when repeated birth and death take place. But one who takes to my abode of son of Kunti never takes birth again. Please repeat. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest. All are places of misery when repeated birth and death take place. But one attains to my abode, of son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karmis, jnanis, hatha, etc. eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti-yoga or Krishna consciousness before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, Indraloka fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice called Panchagni Vidya, recommended in Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if on Brahmaloka one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to the higher and higher planets, and at the time of the universal devastation are transferred to eternal spiritual kingdom. Baladev Divijabhushan, in his commentary on Bhagavad-Gita, quotes this verse: Brahmana sahate sarve samprapte prati sanchare paras yante pita manaha bhavishanti parampadam. When there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness are all transferred to the spiritual universe, to specific spiritual planets, according to their desire. Om Arganataram Dasya Janandana Snakaya Saksha Umitam Jena Tadme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Danti Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest are all places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. The one who attains to my abode, O Sankunti, never takes birth again. 33 verses, 14, 15, and 16 are talking about attaining, how to attain Krishna, how to go back to Godhead. The book Chandrandami Burijan Prabhu gave his comment. We'll read his commentary on this verse. Krishna makes it clear that his planet is supreme. The term Mamopedya, used in both texts 15 and 16, achieving me, Krishna, through repetition, emphasized this. But he does not want the thus bewildered by a desire to go to heavenly planets. He therefore clearly states that every situation in the material world is miserable. He should desire only Mamopedya to achieve him. So in Brahma Samhita it says, Golokanami Nija Dami Tale Chakatasya Devi Mahesha Hari Dimeshu Teshu Tete Bhava Ichaya Viitaschayina Govindamari Tamaha Bhajami. Lotus Laws located Devi Dham, mundane world. Next above is Mahesh Dham, abode of Mahesh, Lord Shiva. Above Mahesh Dham is Hari Dham, abode of Hari, Vaikuntha. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm, known as Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allowed their respective authorities to rulers of those graded realms. So in Sridham Mayapur, they're building the temple of understanding to try to show the structure of the material world, to defeat the scientists and philosophers and so-called scholars who think that there's only life on this planet, and there's no life on any other planet. It's a big misconception. At night time, look in the sky, if it's not cloudy, you see this moon, and you see hundreds and thousands of stars. And in this universe, there's one sun, one moon, and the rest are, the stars are planets. It's not that there are many moons or many suns. Each universe, there's 100,000 universes, and they're all structured the same way. One moon, one sun, and all the other planets take their illumination from the sun. The moon takes its illumination from the sun. Krishna says in the 15th chapter that the splendor of the sun, which dissipates the dark in the whole world, comes from me. The splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. He said, I enter each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. So, although it appears that the sun is in one place, in the 5th canto it's described how the sun is rotating around Mount Meru at some, I forget the number, but very fast pace. It's not stationary. And all the other planets are rotating around the pole star, which is the planet which was given to Dhruva Maharaj, the eternal planet, where Svetadvip, where Mahavishnu lives. So in this way, there's no confusion about the structure of the universe for devotees in the Krishna conscious movement. Other religions may think that this is mythology, or they don't even want to hear about it or know about it because they have some other misconception about how the structure of the universe, about the whole situation in the material world. But since Srila Prabhupada came to America and he studied the Vedic literatures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other books, so he wasn't speculating. He wasn't an armchair speculator. One lady came to Prabhupada in 1966, before we had any books printed, and said, can you recommend the Bhagavad-Gita for me to read? And Prabhupada said, no, I can't. Because at that time, if you went in a bookstore, you would see there was 20 or 30 different translations of Bhagavad-Gita. But only Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad-Gita, as it is, was giving the proper understanding of the Bhagavad-Gita. Because people who are materially contaminated, materially motivated, cannot give the correct interpretation to spiritual subject matters. One is still in the modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, then he can't possibly talk about anything transcendental. And so Prabhupada said, why are they sticking their nose in other people's business? In other words, they shouldn't try to give a translation of Bhagavad Gita without understanding it. And to understand Bhagavad Gita, we have to take it from authority in disciplic succession. So Prabhupada wrote the Bhagavad Gita. He took the commentary of Baladev Vijayabhushan, who is a disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. They both wrote commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya wrote commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. So many authorities, many Vaishnavas wrote commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, and they're all authorized because these great souls didn't have any material motivation. Most people write books to get name and fame for material motivation. But if a devotee is 10% sold out to Krishna, Doris Tronalpi Suniche Na Achuarpi Sisana Manina Mandina Kirtanya Salari. He just does it as a service to Krishna, translate Bhagavad-Gita, and Srila Prabhupada also took it as his life's mission to translate purport Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srila Vyasadeva had compiled all the Vedic literatures, which include the Puranas, Itihasas, Ishopanishads, Mahabharata. He wasn't satisfied. He was feeling despondent. He was feeling that something was wrong. So Narada Muni, was his spiritual master, came there and told him that the problem was you've written so many literatures, but you have not emphasized and delineated it on pure devotional service, bhakti. Therefore, he wrote his commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. It makes it clear understanding. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. Although there are many Puranas with 400,000 slokas, the Srimad Bhagavatam only has 18,000 slokas, but still it's considered the Mahapurana or the spotless Purana. So Sukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, who had only 7 days to live. He put a dead snake on the shoulder of a sage who was meditating and didn't receive him properly. And because he did that, his son, who was a 12-year-old boy, took that as a big offense and cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days. Of course, that was not a very grave offense. When you go to, in the law, you have misdemeanors and you have felony. A felony is a serious crime, which you have to go to jail for many years. But a misdemeanor is not a serious crime. You have to pay some fine, or maybe go to jail for a very short time. Those who are distributing books, sometimes you get arrested for distributing books without a permit. So devotees went to court, and the judge said, "Oh, these are the Hare Krishna people. And when I went to school in Gainesville, they fed me every day, lunch prasadam, so case is dismissed." They didn't take it as a very serious matter. Most cases, distributing books about God, that's not a very serious matter. Of course, in Russia, the KGB thought it was a serious matter. But anyway, Maharaj Parikshit, the boy, Shringi, cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days by the bite of a snake bird. Of course, this is all the arrangement of the will of Providence, Krishna's arrangement, so that Sukadeva Goswami could speak Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit for the benefit of the whole human society. So all sages from all over the universe came there to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and Maharaj Parikshit fasted, didn't drink any water or eat or sleep for 7 days, and he just heard narration about Krishna Katha, the transcendental name, form, qualities of Krishna, and pastimes related to Krishna and Krishna's devotees. In this way, he attained perfection. 9 process of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, beginning with hearing and chanting. So Maharaj Rikshi heard, attained perfection by hearing, and Sukadeva Goswami attained perfection by chanting. Kirtan. Kirtan is either by chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, or speaking about Krishna. So in this way, Sukadeva Goswami, in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he describes the structure of the material world. Well, he didn't give the full picture, but he gave a basic picture. So we know, it says here, from the highest planet down to the lowest, there's 14 planetary systems, Brahmaloka, 7 above and 7 down. So, and on every single planet there is living entities. Although scientists don't want to accept that fact, they say there's only life on this planet, there's no life anywhere else in the universe. But that is not substantiated anywhere. Why shouldn't there be life on any other planet? It's all part of God's creation. So the Krishna says, I spoke this Bhagavad-Gita 120 million years ago to the sun god. Now the sun god, the sun planet, the sun is a fiery ball. So how can a living entity live on the sun? But because every planet has a different atmosphere, and there's 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, so one of those elements is prominent, and a person goes to the sun planet, the moon planet, the Mars, Jupiter, all the other planets, but they get a body according to the atmosphere on that planet. So the scientists make this claim. They showed it on television, very good show, that they went to the moon. Prabhupada was taking a massage at that time, and the devotee was watching the moon landing and wasn't doing it right, so Prabhupada had to keep chastising him. But anyway, they watched the whole moon landing, which was on television, international television. And when they turned it off, the television, Prabhupada said, they never went to the moon. Which, you know, everybody in the material world, everyone in America, has full faith in the scientists, that they are the authority on all material matters. Even Prabhupada's, one of Prabhupada's servants couldn't accept that as a reality. But as time went on, different people, even in the material world that weren't devotees, actually gave evidence that it was not possible to go to the moon, because the moon is above the sun. When you look in the sky, you see the moon seems to be closer than the sun, but it's not. It's farther away than the sun, but it's twice as big as the sun. And it's 1,600,000 miles above the sun. The sun is 93 million miles away, and the moon is 96 million miles away. So they say they went 96 million miles in 3 days and came back with a few rocks and said the moon is a barren desert. So how is it possible that modern technology may be so advanced, but still to go that distance in 3 days, even if they went there, it would have taken them 7 months to go there, not 3 days. And to say that the moon is a barren desert is also not correct, because if I take an airplane and I or a helicopter, I land in the desert somewhere, then I can conclude that the whole planet is a desert. But you haven't seen the whole planet. They didn't see the whole planet. And Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, that I become the moon and supply the juice of life for all vegetables. So, you don't get too many vegetables if you try to grow plants in the desert. They won't grow. So how is this possible? So in either case, the whole structure of the material world is a very scientific subject matter, and it's not something vague or void. But we have a clear understanding that there's 14 upper planets, 14 lower planets, and the Earth is in the middle planetary system. And all the planets are rotating in their orbit. And this is all the will arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says, I enter into all the planets, and by my energy they stay in orbit. Otherwise, where the law of gravitation doesn't apply in the outer space. If there was the law, all the planets would fall down, unless for some reason they're staying in big spheres with hundreds and thousands of oceans and mountains and so heavy. What keeps them from falling down? Well, we know that the Earth planet became sinful, and the people and the Earth did fall down at one time and entered into the Garbhodak Ocean. And therefore, the Lord came as Lord Vraha to rescue the Earth and to kill the first demon in the creation, who was Aranyaksha. So he killed the demon and put the Earth back in its orbit. So the planet is the Earth planet is orbiting, all the other planets are orbiting, and the distance is given in the 5th canto. So, material world, it says here, is a place of misery, where repeated birth and death take place. Birth is not a nice thing. If you see, sometimes in the school, they show a film of a childbirth. Anybody's witnessed childbirth, it's not something you want. You have to see that on an empty stomach, because it's not very pleasant to see. And when a child comes out, it's all covered with nasty things, and it starts crying. And when Lord Chaitanya took birth 5,500 years ago, he didn't take birth at the usual time, which is 9 months. Sometimes Prabhupada says 10 months. But after 13 months, Lord Chaitanya took birth. So when Lord Chaitanya took birth, they put vermilion and scented oils all over his body, different substances. But nowadays, when a child is born, they just rub it with Dettol. And then they don't consider it anything sacred. But in all respect, the normal birth of a normal child is not very beautiful. It's not something pleasant to see. And death is also a very painful situation. When the soul can no longer tolerate the pain in his body, then the soul leaves that body. So that birth is a painful situation. Being in the womb of the mother is very painful. The child in the womb, after 7 months, if the child has some pious sukriti, he's suffering like anything, because he's packed up in a in a bag, and he's getting bitten by worms, and whatever the mother eats, if she eats the wrong things, spicy things, then he also feels pain. So the child in the womb after 7 months, described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and in Lord Kapila Dev describes this also, that after 7 months, the child who is pious from previous life begins to pray to the Lord that now I'm suffering in the womb, let me not take birth again. Let me remember you, perform devotional service, not have to do this again. But unfortunately, after 7 months, after 9 months or 10 months, the child is born again and forgets that he prayed in the womb. So, of course, when Krishna came 5,000 years ago, he was not born. He took birth in Mathura from Vasudeva and Devaki, but he was not born like an ordinary child. When Krishna took birth 5,000 years ago, his body looked like Mahavishnu. He didn't look like a baby. He looked like Mahavishnu, or he had a small form for the symbols of Mahavishnu, with helmet and jewelry, ornaments, so many things. In the same way, when Lord Chaitanya took birth, it was by Atma Maya, by the Yoga Maya potency, that these different personalities come in the material world, and for the purpose of teaching Krishna consciousness. So, but otherwise, birth, death, old age, disease, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vadi, are there in the material world, and every single person, whether he's a Christian, a Muslim, or a Hindu, or whatever he may be, has to suffer repeated birth and death. So, people don't want to accept that fact, though. If you say to someone, you're suffering in this material world, they'll say, no, I'm not suffering. And when a child grows up, in his youth, he doesn't think he's suffering. So he say, well, I'm not suffering. But we say, well, why there's so many medical shops, why there's so many doctors and hospitals, if people aren't suffering? And no one goes to the medical shop and asks for, can you give me some malaria, or can you give me some typhoid, or some disease to make me suffer. But suffering comes on its own accord. Prahlad Maharaj says, as soon as one endeavors to be happy in the material world, that's when his suffering comes. Because when you take birth in the material world, you're destined to make, destiny is already decided, whether you're going to be rich or poor, whether you're going to be ugly or beautiful, whether you're going to be famous or infamous. It's already been decided. So we simply act out the drama of material life and go through the cycle of birth, disease, old age, and death. So here, Krishna is saying that everyone from up to Brahmaloka has to return, repeated birth and death. But there's an exception to the rule. When Gajendra the elephant was trapped, he was bathing in the water of a river, and a crocodile came, and he was fighting with the crocodile for 1,000 years. Because the crocodile is an animal, the water, the crocodile was getting his food, but the elephant couldn't get any food, and his she-elephants and his other elephants couldn't help him. So Gajendra the elephant, he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord answered his prayers and came there and pulled him out of the water, saved him from the crocodile, and immediately he got a spiritual body and went to Vaikuntha. So in other cases, the sons of the treasurer of the heaven, Kuvera, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, were bathing in a lake, in a river, in the water, in the heavenly planets, and they were naked, they were intoxicated, and they were sporting with some heavenly damsels. So they were all naked. So when Narada Muni came by, the ladies weren't so intoxicated, so they were embarrassed. They immediately covered themselves. But the sons of Kuvera, they were so intoxicated they didn't even recognize Narada Muni, didn't do anything to cover themselves. Because in human society, one should never expose the lower half of his body. Is not a civilized man will never do that. Only someone who's uncivilized. And brahmachari shouldn't even expose his body to himself. So the brahmachari, we always wear kalpans or something, gamsha. We don't ever expose ourselves. So they were so intoxicated, they became uncivilized. So Narada Muni cursed them to take birth as trees, because trees, when you get a tree body, you stand naked for so many hundreds of years. So they were cursed to stand naked for 100 years in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And at that time, after 100 years, they were delivered when Krishna was tied to the grinding mortar by Mother Yasoda for stealing butter. He put the mortar between two trees, two Arjun trees, and he pulled down the trees and liberated these two sages. So at that time it says, because they got the darshan of Lord Krishna, they became pure devotees. And even though they went back to heaven, they still maintained their Krishna consciousness. So other instances are there in the Krishna book where demigods are cursed to come in the material world and take animal bodies, but they get the darshan of Lord Vishnu and get free from their curse, and then they become Krishna conscious, and then they don't have to take birth again in the material world. So in this way, this exception is there. On Brahma Loka, it says Brahma, when there's a devastation in the material universe, Brahmanas, devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desire. So, with the exception of devotees, there's the heavenly planets, and then there's Tapalok, Janalok, and Mahalok. These three planets are described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and on those planets, people that are pious, are saintly persons, perform devotional service, and they don't have to take birth again at the time when the universe is devastated. They also go back to Godhead. And anyone on Brahma Loka who's also performing devotional service doesn't take birth again, along with Lord Brahma and their and the rulers of different planets. If someone performing devotional service, then they don't have to take birth again. They go back, and here it says they go to the spiritual planet according to their desire. So if someone's practicing Vaidhi Bhakti, which means you follow the rules and regulations, then you will go to Vaikuntha planet. If someone is following Raganuga Bhakti, which is spontaneous devotional service to Radha and Krishna, then you go to Golok Vrindavan. In either case, you go to Vaikuntha or go to Golok Vrindavan, it says you never return again to this material world. So, how we came in this material world, why we came in this material world, the conditioned soul, we can't understand this. Prabhupada wrote in his purport, 13:20, Bhagavad-Gita, that the conditioned soul cannot understand how we came in the material world, but it's not a very important question. The question is how to get out of the material world. If you're on a boat and the boat sinks and you're swimming in the ocean, you don't stop to think, how did the boat sink? You just want to get saved. So in the same way, we shouldn't have to worry about how or why we came in the material world. Only Krishna knows how and why we came in the material world. And so they debate about this, but Bhagavad-Gita says it over and over again that once you go there, you never come back. So it's not the second time, but it's the first time. Once you go there, you never come back. So we accept that as the conclusion. Because in the material world, everyone's under the influence of three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we're controlled by the modes of nature. But in the spiritual world, there are no modes of nature. Everyone has a Satchidananda body, eternally full of knowledge and bliss. So you can't make a mistake in the spiritual world. You can't just think that I'd rather be in the material world. That thought doesn't come. And even in Golok Vrindavan, there are no demons in Golok Vrindavan. They're conspicuous by their absence. Everything, all the living entities in Golok Vrindavan, Vaikuntha, have Satchidananda bodies, and they're eternally full of knowledge and bliss. And they don't never enter into the material world. There's no traffic jam of spirit souls coming and going from the material world to the spiritual world. Like you go to Delhi, you get stuck in a traffic jam. There's no traffic jam. Spirit souls coming and going. But somehow or other, we don't know how we came in this material world, but we should understand that it's a wretched condition, and we shouldn't have made that mistake. We have free will, and we did decide. Wasn't Krishna's arrangement that we came in the material world. It was our desire, our misuse of our independence. And so we should condemn ourselves for making that choice and coming in the material world, because the material world is nothing but a place of suffering where repeated birth and death take place. So the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement, we chant 16 rounds the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that's the minimum. If you have more time, you can chant as much as you like. And we follow 4 principles: no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Especially sex life is the binding force in the material world. When Daksha was a progenitor, his service is to populate the universe. So he had 10,000 sons. He told them to get married and populate the universe. But Narada Muni came there and told all the sons, you don't have to get married and populate the universe and get entangled in material life. Better you stay brahmachari. Because family life is very entangling, and Prabhupada says, family life advancement is very slow or next to nil. And it's entangling, so many problems are there. family men will agree. Anybody that's married, has children, will know there's so many problems, so many things they have to deal with that distract one from Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhupada came to create Vaishnavas, make first-class men. So anybody can follow the four principles: no meeting, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. They're first-class men. And Prabhupada said anybody does that for his whole life, chant 16 rounds, follow the four regular principles, then he said, I will take you back to Godhead. So this is the key to going back to Godhead, to be very strict in our vow, to know that any other process, there must be bhakti, must be there. The Jnanis, yogis, the Nagababas, whoever, if there's no bhakti, there's no chance of going to Vaikuntha or Golok. They may merge into Brahman effulgence, but that's not a permanent situation. And the bliss found in the Brahman effulgence is compared to the water in a calf's footprint, and devotional service is 10 million times much more bliss is there, much more enjoyment is there. So in either case, you should not want to come back to the material world. You should try to finish the business in this life and go back to Krishna and enjoy with Krishna in Golok, Vrindavan. So, time is up. That's all I'm going to say about this verse. Anybody have any comments, questions? All right. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanande.